legendary, iconic, international, DJ extraordinaire, MikeQ Unfiltered.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure to sit and have a chat with you and get updated on things.
So, how are you? I mean, I don't even know where to start. Like your rocket like just keeps going up and up and up. How are you?
I'm great. Like, to ask me how am I is almost you're talking to Michael. MikeQ is a whole separate entity. So I'm chilling. I'm in the house. This is what I do on the regular when I'm not DJing.
I'm just gonna dive right into kind of the big thing that's happening right now with you, and that is being featured on Beyonce's new album. I know that must have been probably a career highlight for you, but I want to know, you tell me, what was it like in that moment to get the call from her team to say, to be a part of that project?
Well, truly a blessing. I remember when I first got the email, it was like maybe just 2 weeks before the album had came out. And first email, it was just somebody asking about my song that she was using, but I didn't really pay attention to it. I just gave them like a little nonchalant answer back or whatever, and that was that. But then somebody else responded from that, and then I saw a Parkwood attached to that, and I was like, oh shit, started putting two and two together. So I like sent it to my manager, and like I was asking, like, are these people, you think these people are, trying to use my song for Beyonce's album? Because that's just what it looked like in the email. But hadn't yet like gotten a response from them, so I didn't know. But to come to find out, that's what it was.
I mean, could you believe that it was? I mean, I know you must have been like, this is not real.
Yeah, I mean, I had plenty of moments, especially like right before the album dropped, because I couldn't say anything. Like, I think I wrote like one exciting post on Facebook, but once I found out that's what it really was, I went and took that down, and then it was just like I didn't tell anybody like for that whole week, and just had to hold that to myself.
Yeah, I mean, what is that like though? Like, how does that work? Like the business aspect of it. You get the phone call. Do you have to like sign off on a whole lot of paperwork? How does it work?
Well, yeah, it's a lot of paperwork. Luckily, I don't have to deal with that now. I have a manager who is pretty professional in that area of handling with stuff with labels and stuff. So he took care of all that stuff for me, but made sure I understood everything that was going on. And yeah, happened.
So we're at the point where the album drops and you can finally talk about it. Like, just take me to that moment, because in my mind, I would still be in somewhat of a state of disbelief. You know what I'm saying? But you're able to talk about it freely. The album is out and you're on there. Your name is there. I mean, take me into that moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, most of my disbelief moments happened that week prior. Like, even to the point, it was like one night I was sitting here, I was like crying and just like gagging and shit. Like, so that had already happened. And then by the time it was time for the album to drop, I had like already had my posts written up that I wanted to say and some pictures and stuff, because people had kind of found out already before I could say anything. Like, actually, it started to almost become real before I actually knew, just because of the post. I guess the producer credits had got released, and you have people who are like really into her and they look at everything. So a few people had seen my name. So somebody on Twitter tweeted at me, "Hey, is that you on the Beyonce album?" Somebody on Facebook asked me. Someone on Instagram tagged me or something. So it was like, okay, but I couldn't like the post or say anything. But yeah, it was like, that's crazy.
I noticed that you have made a point to have Kevin JC Prodigy included. And I was saying that most people probably would have just been like, whatever, I got mine, my name is on there, I don't care about nobody else. But you didn't do that. And of course, that's not your character anyway, but you were very clear about making sure he had to be acknowledged on there as well. Why was that so important for you?
Well, originally I know this because I couldn't almost talk to Kevin either when it first started happening, but I had vaguely asked some questions like, hey, had anybody contact you about anything? Because they also had another ballroom producer, VJ, the DJ from Philadelphia, who Kevin works with a lot and has produced a lot of Kevin's early tracks. So along with my name, his name was listed on there as well. But when I spoke to him, he said he hadn't heard anything from anybody. So then there was this whole thing of trying to figure out what the track sounded like, because I didn't get to hear it until maybe I think 2 days before the album release. But then I think a day before that it had leaked, so people had started hearing it anyway. But upon listening to it, didn't hear anything of VJ's that he would have contributed. So I kind of had my manager to, like, go and check and make sure if his music is there or not, because if it is there and they hadn't spoken to him, I didn't think that would have been fair. So, and it's crazy because we don't get along too well, but even still in this moment, I still want to make sure, like, nothing of his was used. And then as far as with Kevin also, his name wasn't listed at all. But, if you know the names that are on there, they have Kevin Aviance by his government name, Marine as well, and some of the other producers of those tracks. But Kevin, Jay-Z, or his government name wasn't there at all. So I definitely want to make sure, that was there for this moment, because, also with that, there's royalties and that needs to be traced back to him. So
Right.
definitely something important.
Yeah. And what did you think about the final outcome of the track? I mean, it's one thing to be featured on there, but then to hear it, what was it like listening to it? And was it what you expected?
It wasn't what I expected. I would definitely say the first time I heard it, it was a bit weird to me, because being a Beyonce fan and knowing what she usually gives, it was something different. But it definitely, like, grew on me, like, really fast, and it's my favorite track on the album, which is funny, not just to say that because I'm a part of it, but it truly is a great track, and I'm glad that she did this.
You're known all over the world, literally. You have DJed and still do DJ all around the world. You're a guy who grew up in New Jersey. Did you ever think that you would be on the world stage, seeing all that you've seen, doing all that you have done, and being one of the most in-demand DJs literally in the world?
Not at all. Never imagined it. Even when I got into this, it was like I never wanted to be a DJ. It's something that just came along with me making ballroom music, which is a different type of music that I had come to enjoy growing up in Jersey. Is like house music and Jersey club. Well, early back then it was like Baltimore club, but that kind of became its own thing here now. So we just grew up with like dance music, and when I heard ballroom, it really like grasped me. So started making that, and then DJing just started kind of happened. And I was even afraid to do it, like, in the beginning.
Why were you afraid?
I couldn't mix with that not being something that I wanted to do. I also had no knowledge on it. So I would, just make CDs at home. I'd take an 80-minute CD, get on the computer, make a mix that wasn't really a mix because it was just a song placed after another one. But that's how I kind of got through with it. Almost like a fake it till you make it type of thing. But that wasn't too long. That was like maybe for a year or two. But, I started hanging out in the clubs and stuff and learning from people and also just experiencing stuff on my own. And yeah.
At what point did you realize, I can actually make a living off of DJing? Because I imagine in the early stages of your career or starting out, you were probably just having fun, I imagine. So when did you realize you could actually make a living off of it?
My first gig was for $75. I DJed an entire maybe 7-hour night at the Globe, $75. Just to give you a perspective. And yeah, it was just for fun, I guess.
now maybe the $75 is just to get on the phone to talk about possibly DJing.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I want to say because I had always like worked jobs. I think when I first started DJing, I was working at Domino's Pizza. I was in high school. Then after that, I like worked at Subway and Home Depot as well. And Home Depot, that was
You
like
worked at
my
Home
good,
Depot?
yeah, that
I
was
cannot
my
imagine
full
you at Home Depot
time.
moving around lumber and stuff.
I sold doors and windows. I was an expert on doors and windows. Um, and that was like a good full-time job with benefits, the first one that I had gotten. But at the same time, I was in high school, and at the same time, also was really kind of getting into what I was doing. This is about 2005, so maybe just a year or two after I had started. So I was at the clubhouse every Thursday, the Globe every Friday, but also with school and work, that just kind of became a lot. And I kind of thought the club was more important. Ended up losing that job because I had called out so many Fridays because I just couldn't make it the next day after being out all night. And I want to say after that, I might have had two more jobs. So probably around 2008 was when yeah, that's the last job that I had on the books, 2008. And from there, I was able to support myself with all the gigs that I had because I was playing like at least 5 to 6 times a week at 3 or 4 different clubs.
Mhm.
Money wasn't that much, but it was enough to, get me through.
So for those of you guys watching at home, I'm talking to the legendary, iconic, world-renowned DJ, none other than MikeQ. And MikeQ, again, thank you so much for being here with me. So were you afraid? Like, was there fear involved in going from a full-time job or any job to full-time DJing? What was that like? And did you have like that little voice inside saying, "Nah, don't do it," trying to like maybe having some self-doubt, perhaps? I don't know. What was that like?
Um, no, I don't know. I would say with me losing that job at Home Depot, it was like almost I was slacking. Um, Again, just thinking the club of being a more important place, which it wasn't. But that's just a chance I took
Do you ever
without.
roll up on Home Depot and like, look at me now kind of thing? Y'all fire me, but look at me now.
No, I don't. I don't. And I've said I would actually go back there and like do that job again, like just for fun on
Okay,
my
because see,
spare time.
I would be petty. I would roll through Home Depot and just, what's up? I go inside and
Yeah,
say, hey, shake hands to people. I'm petty like that. But you moved on.
yeah. And this is almost 20 years ago now, so I'm pretty
Okay.
sure all those people are gone.
What is it like at home? And like, do people know that you're this mega DJ and, or is it just Mike?
It's just Mike. I want to say like my family and close friends, that's like they're the daytime people, so they don't really too much get into nightlife. Like I have maybe 2 or 3 friends from that are really close to me that will come out and do know stuff, but for the
So
most
you
part,
have
it's
a
like they,
daytime friendship clique and a nighttime clique.
yeah, the daytime people, like people from school and just like my other close friends who aren't in the clubs every night. They have regular, 9 to 5 jobs and stuff like that. So they know. And then, the rest of my family and stuff is just what they see on Facebook. But for the majority, none of them have ever, besides like my sisters, have ever been out to anything, or I don't know what they're seeing, whatever they
Mhm.
click on, or
You must be on like passport number 5, but kind of give me the rundown of some of the places you've had an opportunity to play in.
oh man. I mean, what you mean location wise?
Yeah, like countries.
All over America, of course, and then Mexico, down below, Canada, up top, a few different cities there. Been to Asia, and then with that is Shanghai, Beijing, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Osaka, Seoul, Australia, pretty much all over every place that you could play in Australia. I've been there just recently to Tasmania, New Zealand, all over Europe, Russia, and Brazil.
Russia. Wait, you said Russia? I don't know about the
Yeah.
Russia, man. Not right now. I would
I
be
was in
scared to go to
Russia
Russia.
in 2014. I was away for Thanksgiving, which is my favorite holiday because I love to eat that kind of food. So I had got booked in Russia for Interview magazine with a friend of mine, Venus X. So we were there for 2 days, and it was cold and the food was terrible, but it was a good time. I had a very good time.
You didn't
Like,
have any
yeah,
trouble at the airport, did you?
I didn't, and it's crazy because like I have so much like sympathy for this girl Brittany because I remember when I went there in 2014, just like her, I had a vape pen, and it was nothing. I got through
Wow.
with it, and I even
So
have
you,
like a picture in front of St. Basil's Cathedral of me like blowing smoke out from the vape that I had, and it's
wow.
just like that possibly could have been me.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness it wasn't. So the
Yeah.
resume is extensive. I mean, you've conquered, or do you feel like you've conquered the DJ world?
No, not yet. I still have to play in Africa. That's the last place on the list for me.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't want to go there until I get booked as a DJ. Like that's what I want my first experience to be. But that hasn't been a easy world to tap into, which is weird because I have so many white DJ friends who have and are there
Really?
extensively. Yeah.
It's interesting. Why do you think it's taking you so long to break through in Africa, but your white counterparts have been able to do it?
I'm not sure. Well, I know like ballroom, or I don't know too much of ballroom's existence there. I'm sure if it was there, it would probably exist in South Africa. Uh, but there just hasn't been too much communication with that part of the world as far as my music or even just the community goes that I know of. And then with the white DJs, they play the same music as far as house, but maybe I'm not too much known for being a house music DJ. A big part of my connection comes from ballroom, although I can do much more than that.
Yeah. So for those people in Africa, if you're listening or watching, y'all need to go ahead and book MikeQ because I mean, if you're not, then what you doing with your life? Because like why?
Yeah.
So obviously that's like a big goal for you then to be
Yeah.
booked in Africa.
Yep.
You have become this car fanatic. You're in this car club. Every time I see you on Facebook, you've changed some component of your car, you've added something. Where did this whole car thing come from?
I just got my first car ever at the age of 35, maybe 2 years ago, just right after the pandemic, I think within that same year. So money was going good, and I just wanted to get a ride for myself. So I had got one car, a Nissan Altima 2020, and did a couple of like little modifications to it because I was in a Facebook group, so people would post things that you could do to your car for that specific model. So I started doing things like that, made it look pretty cool, whatever. And I was riding through Newark one day, and a guy in a car club, they were like all Infinities, but he stopped me and told me to follow them on Instagram. And that's when I seen the page and what they were doing. And then I just started maybe because I had the car for 10 months. So to me, it was like a bit slow. I had started going to little car meets. They do this thing called park and chills, where they just pick a parking lot at a store and different cars, whether it's car crews or not, just regular people. They'll pull up with their cars, play music, bring their friends, drinks, chairs, and just chill and stuff. So I started going to these things, but I would notice that I'm by myself. I don't know anybody. I don't really talk to nobody. And also, I had the newest car there, but it was also like it was the most uncool car because it was so new. Everybody else's car was like, these classics and these built things. So I started feeling like, okay, it's a little different. And then the car kind of was like slow to me. I kind of, like to step on it a little bit. So I swapped out, got an Infinity. And I think within that first week, I had hit those guys in that club up, and it was on from there.
So I just saw, I think today you've had the front of the car taken off. Like, are you doing something different to it again?
Yeah, I just put some vintage fenders on the sides of it and got it wrapped.
A new wrap? What color is it now?
No, it's the same wrap, but
Oh,
the vendors are carbon fiber. I'm not too much into carbon fiber, but the physical look of it is pretty dope. So I just got most of it wrapped in the orange. It's like I'll
so
show you a picture.
yeah, okay. I want to see a picture of this, but I'm an A and B kind of guy. I go from A to B with my car. You know what I'm saying? I don't do a whole lot of extra. As a matter of fact, the only thing I've done to my car is tint the windows, and I just put that tow hook on the front, on the bumper. And I only did that tow hook because somebody stole my cover off my bumper. The little things that go on the cover of the bumper, the tow thing. And I don't want to drive around with a hole in my bumper. So I got the tow hook, and I followed your advice. I got it off of eBay and put that on the front of my car. So that's it. I'm not doing all that extra stuff. I can't afford it like you, but how much does it cost to pimp out your vehicle?
Shit. It's a nice, pretty. Nothing's cheap. Because I've done a lot to the car, which I didn't expect to do. So even once I got into the club, I was fine with having a black car. I was just gonna get some rims, and I had got my headlights done. I wasn't gonna do nothing else. I didn't want all that exhaust noise. I always felt like that was obnoxious, and why do we want to hear that and stuff. But
Yeah,
as time
I
went,
don't like the loud exhaust. I don't like that.
yeah, you would you wouldn't want to be around us. But
You got the loud
eventually,
exhaust on yours?
it's mild, but it's a little noise, and I love it. Like, it makes driving way more fun just to push a car and hear that exhaust, especially like when you're in the tunnel. And I find myself wanting it a little louder now, but that's it just goes with the culture, which is a fun thing to get into, and is weird because I almost compare it in ways to being like in a ballroom house.
Mhm.
They don't know about it, but that's how I set it up. We have a mother and a father of the house, and I'm the VP. I don't know. I guess that would probably be like, I don't know, whatever to the house, but all the house members, and we're the primes and stuff. And it's just been like, as far as just hanging out with people and stuff, I feel almost a bit more comfortable being a part of the car club than I had in ballroom. Like ballroom, of course, I'm in the house of Ebony, but it's not much that I hang out with them or go to house meetings, go to balls even with them. But with the car club, it's almost, we do the same thing. We hang out, we go to car shows and do meetups and stuff. And I find myself more into that than I had ever been with ballroom.
Right.
As far as the whole house system goes, which is a weird thing to me because this is like mostly like, this heterosexual team, so much that we know of. And most of them are like 20-year-olds. There's a couple of us that are over 30 that, they're like overseers and stuff. But it's
So,
been a
they
cool
say,
year.
yeah, I mean, and they say having a hobby is expensive. So and this is obviously an expensive hobby, but it sounds like
But
it's
you
a
want to know
fun
how much? I want to say so far, I probably put a good 15, 20K into modifications.
What?
And
Just in modifications?
yeah, I would have to do a recount at this point. But
Wow.
between that and the labor to get the things done, yeah,
Wow. That is a lot.
that is a lot. It's crazy. Please don't remind me. And I'm not done yet.
That's
It's
like a whole other
still,
car.
yeah, it is. If you see the pictures from what it was to what it is now, it's like, okay. But I get a lot of attention, not on purpose. Didn't want, that's like not my motive with doing this, but every day it's conversations with people, and there's a lot of respect out here.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, good luck with that. I'm gonna stick to what I got. I can't I don't need no modifications. But how is it like interacting with them? Do they know you in the other world, or they just know you as Mike, the car enthusiast?
I mean, slowly started to like spill that stuff out. Like, I have my Instagram attached to my car Instagram. So some of them do follow me on there. There's not been any conversations of sexuality or anything like that. There's no shade with anybody. I kind of think you have to be crazy not to have put two and two together for those that do follow me on my page or have looked me up, which I don't know who has. Actually, is one guy. He actually watches Legendary with his two daughters, which is pretty cool. So he'll come back to me and say stuff, and they talk to me. His daughters, they're pretty cool, and they at all the car meets and stuff. So
Yeah,
that's one interaction there. But
right. Well, speaking of Legendary, because we haven't talked about that. I mean, that right there, even before Beyonce came along, I mean, that is a huge, huge show and a huge success. Tell me about being a part of that project and what that's like. How's that changed your life?
It's been amazing. What, 3 seasons in now, so it almost just feels so regular at this point. But I remember when that first came along, I was contacted to do the theme music. I'm trying to get this story straight because it's like so much of this and that. But James Blake, I think he hit me up first to do a track with him. So in my mind, I know Jamila Jamil is his girlfriend, who's also an executive producer on the show. And he was, I guess, asked to do the theme song for the show, but he didn't want to go ahead and, just be this person to go and produce this song and not have been in touch with anybody like from the culture. So he did hit me up to be a part of that with him and kind of like lead him on that. And we got that done. But then not too long after that, speaking to some of the producers of the show, they're like, hey, well, do you want to be on the show? Like just on the screen DJ. So I'm like, okay, yeah. And this was when it was filming in Connecticut, with that first season of Connecticut before it went to LA. So that has started, I think, February 2019, if I'm not mistaken, before the pandemic. It was pretty cool, like just seeing how far ballroom has come, and then being on an actual TV show and seeing this whole professional setup and the celebrity guests that they get every week and the audience being there. It was just a cool experience, cool environment to be in. That I've grown to love.
My thing is too, like, of course, you go way back in ballroom, and we haven't really talked about ballroom much, but we will. But here's the show Legendary on television, like to the world, covering a culture that really, for the most part, for all these years, have been underground and not really part of the mainstream culture. And then now, boom, we're on TV.
Right.
To me, that's a big deal. But I mean, how do you feel being a part of the show, repping a culture that has been overlooked for the most part, unless, of course, the straights want to come and steal, some of the culture for their own purposes? What is that like?
Well, I've always been apprehensive about ballroom going into mainstream. I've talked about this so much, just knowing what the world can do to cultures once they take attention to them. Then it's, everybody wants to be a part of it. They want to do this with it, do that with it, take the music, take the dance, take the style, take everything, blow it up. It's super popular. And then when they're done, they just leave it and it's on to something else. But knowing how special ballroom is, I didn't want that to happen. So it was just always afraid of how, it would get out into the world. But it was also like it was no way to even control that, because it's like once you're in ballroom and you have a piece of it that you could give out to somebody, anybody could contact you about this, and then that's what they go with. So it's been a lot of that. But that was, I guess, inevitable in a way. But it's cool. It's with the show is not ballroom. It's not all of ballroom. It's just a competition show, a very small piece of it for entertainment. But it's not all that ballroom is. Definitely is more to it, if people shall choose to seek that. But yeah, it's an amazing thing. It's a step up, and hopefully everyone that is included, is able to, make something from it or get something from it.
Do you feel like the ballroom scene has taken you for granted? Because I often feel like, people in the ballroom scene, they don't really appreciate those of us who kind of transcend and go out into the real world and make a name. And, I don't know why that is, but do you feel like the ballroom scene takes you for granted in some ways?
For sure. Definitely. In every way. And I don't know what that is. I will say that I'm not that loud of a person when I'm out in the ballroom world. I'm not trying to be the forefront of anything. I enjoy being in the background, enjoy DJing. And I'm a quiet, reserved person. I stay to myself with that. So my only way of expressing who I am in the community is through me DJing and making beats and stuff.
But that has to bother you, I'm sure. I mean, or I don't know if it angers you at all, but it must bother you that a culture that you're a part of, been a part of for so long, doesn't give you the respect that you're due.
Of course it bothers me, but I think at this point, just knowing how the culture is, especially towards its DJs, and just seeing how anytime there were awards, balls, and stuff, there weren't always many DJ categories. And then also with DJing the balls, a lot of the balls for years only really booked Von Allure to do most of the major house balls and stuff. But it is what it is. Even now, it's funny because there's a big house music festival across the street from my house right now that they're having today. They used to do like Wednesdays in the park every week, but today is like the big end of the summer one. And I've been trying to get booked for this for like 2 years now, just either on a regular Wednesday or even this thing. And I've spoken to them plenty of times and have not been able to get through that. They keep me humble around here.
Wow.
So that's just what it is. You always get more love and respect, I feel like, outside of home, or where you started.
Yeah, that's unfortunate though, because you're such a treasure, and it's unfortunate our community doesn't recognize that. But maybe they will at some point. Hopefully it won't be too late. So where do you see ballroom going from here? It's on multiple TV shows. I guess you can really say ballroom is mainstream now. It's been mainstreamed. What's next? You think it's going to crash at some point, or is it going to keep going up?
I really don't know. Even when asked this question years ago, I can't say that I've seen it where it is right now. You have Kevin Jay-Z opening up the BET Awards, Legendary, Pose, Beyonce now, and so many other things that have happened, but it was all unexpected, I would say. And I don't know. I keep an open mind, I guess, about the future. I don't know what more can happen next. Maybe a movie now, about ballroom or something like that.
Of course, I can't close out without asking you about love life and that side of things, that side of MikeQ. Is there a special somebody out there or some people?
There's special people, I guess, around, but I will say nothing right now in my life is consistent. So, it's just me and my dogs.
That's
me and my dogs and my car. My car that's my love life right there right now.
Okay. That's all you're gonna say on that. By the way, is it 4 dogs now?
4, yeah.
Wow. How do you manage 4 dogs? And what happens to them when you go out of the country?
They're cared for. I have family that takes care of them and stuff. So they're in good hands, and they all here circled around me right now. It's just funny. His mom, dad, and then their 2 daughters, Mimi and Lulu.
If there's any closing message you want to leave with your fans and all of your supporters, you can certainly feel free to do that. Now is the time to, give you shout outs or whatever you want to do to the people at home.
Well, I will just shout out if anybody, Bon Lord, keep his spirit alive, keep his music alive. Um, Anybody else? I don't know. Anything coming, more music. I'm pretty sure more gigs. I just finished like killing this year, traveling and stuff. So finally things are calming down. But there's always something coming up. And yeah, you'll get it when it's time. Oh, and then also I'm doing the remixes for the legendary theme song. That's like my next piece of music that's coming out. Is pretty dope. 7 tracks, great producers and stuff. And I think that's about it right now.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the legendary, iconic Mike Q, world-renowned, internationally known DJ extraordinaire. Mike, thank you so much for blessing me with this opportunity. I've always wanted to sit down and talk to you and just kind of chop it up and go inside, go behind the vinyl, so to speak. And I really appreciate it.
It was fun. Thank you for chatting with me.
Brought to you by Tom Blumenthal and Serve Media.